The Lunar Guardsman. Written by Krimar. Chapter 7. Opening Doors. Part 2. Twilight tried to emulate Princess Celestia. Keep your expression serene, looks as if you know what you are doing, and don't allow any of the inner tremors you feel make it to the surf.
Oh, sweet dear bucking horse apples on a stick, what did she just suggest? Calm, remain calm. Lips straight with a slight hint of a smile. Eyes must have an inquisitive stare, as if you see and take interest in everything, but nothing surprises you. Maintain breathing at optimal rate. Do not hyperventilate.
Twilight chanted the mantra of Princess Serenity in her mind. It was working. If only she could maintain conscious control of her mane and stop it from slowly spiking in random directions, then she would just be peachy. She really hoped the girls were buying the act. They were looking at her as if she just told them they should all go jump into some nice, not-so-fluffy jagged rocks. In this sense, she did.
Twilight, darling, let me see if I understand your proposal correctly,
Rarity said, and Twilight nodded, regally allowing the peasant to continue with her questions.
You want us to, and I have to stress this, deliberately lie to Regden that we will be asking around our own, while in reality we will, I can't believe this, we will be snooping in their rooms?
Twilight nodded again. She did not trust her tongue yet. Rarity got a fan on her somewhere and sat down heavily. Fluttershy raised a hoof, begging to ask question. Twilight discreetly swallowed before addressing her.
You have a question, Fluttershy? Yes. I'm sorry, and really, don't take this the wrong way, but do you have a death wish?
Twilight blinked. Wow, she did not expect that.
Rainbow, any questions from you? No, I think my girl Flutter's just covered all of my own. Well, I guess I could add, do you think we also have a death wish? Raiden isn't gonna shy away from kicking our butts if he catches us. Or worse, soap us all. Whatever he does to us, he ain't gonna be gentle. My head still hurts, and Mary is wearing that dress for a reason.
Twilight sighed. She hoped it would be easier. Just point out a direction, and they would follow with no questions. It never happened before, but it was a big universe. Probability had to collapse somewhere, right? At least they didn't know of Regden's more creative punishments. Then they would have galloped back to him to tattle her in an effort to save their own flanks. She threw an epic tantrum once when she was 13, because he didn't let her stay up later than usual. She had to spend the rest of the week walking around in pink-spotted baby nappies and drink everything from a baby bottle. She only tried to take them off once, but stopped when she saw him grin evilly. At her relief, when Spike laughed at her, Regden forced him to endure the same, so he never felt the need to share this story. The princess held off any lessons and didn't meet with Twilight until the punishment was over. Twilight suspected that she heard about Spike's inclusion and didn't want to take the risk. As it was, only Applejack had agreed to her plan. Twilight had no option now but to sin. She was going to bring physical evidence in the debate.
Okay, girls, I didn't want to do this, but you forced my hoof. Do you see this?
Rainbow squinted.
That's a list? Exactly. And what does that tell you? That you are an egghead?
Right, this was getting repetitive, insulting, and something she should have seen coming.
This is a list of everything that I have written. It contains everything we know about Luna's and Regden's plans, their motives, who could possibly be a suspect for wanting them dead, and everything else we know. Let me see that, please,
Rarity said, and pulled the notebook towards her with her magic. She spent a few seconds examining it.
Twilight, the only things you have written here are render elements useless, and every pony minus 13. Exactly,
Twilight exclaimed, satisfied. Finally, they were seeing the point.
We know nothing. We can't help them like this. I don't think they have told us the whole story. They must know more about who's after them. They can't have been living like this for a year and not have a single clue. We have no idea what they are after, and thus no idea who could possibly want to stop them, which I include ourselves in, by the way. I can't understand why they're so dead set against the elements, and I don't buy in Dad's speech that Applejack told us.
Luna doesn't want them around either, Applejack added. She sounded downright hateful about the fact we were connected with them.
But that doesn't make any sense.
Twilight was almost yelling in confusion.
She used to be linked to the elements of harmony herself. She and Celestia were the ones to trap Discord the first time. The elements are what cleansed her of Nightmare Moon. Why does she want them gone now? When I was a little filly, there was a small closet on the wall of my room.
Fluttershy said. Every pony's attention shifted to her with a sudden change of topic. Fluttershy lowered her head at the attentiveness, but continued.
I was really afraid of it that night. I accidentally locked myself in once and, afterwards, always kept thinking that one nightmare night moon would jump out of there and drag me back inside.
Twilight was instantly reminded of her own childhood fears.
I told my dad one day, and when he came back home, he had taken off the door and filled it in the closet, turning it all into a solid wall. It didn't matter to my dad if I was right to be afraid or not. He just removed it with no questions asked. That's a sweet story about your dad, Fluttershy, but I don't understand what it has to do with all of this,
Twilight told her friend.
Maybe Raiden is doing the same with the elements of harmony? Maybe Luna is afraid of Raiden wants to...
Twilight didn't get it. What the hell was that supposed to mean? Rarity, however, seemed to connect the same dots while listening to the story. She didn't look like she liked it, though.
The screams you told us about... Twilight, tell me, please, is there a slightest chance that Luna was conscious while she was banished?
Understanding dawned like a baleful sun, scorching all over her other dots, leaving Twilight with nothing but the apprehension of true horror. 1,000 years. 1,000 years of solitude. Alone, completely and utterly alone. No one to talk to, and no one to talk to you. No voices, not even your own, because Luna had been banished. She would have no control of her limbs because there were no limbs for her to control. She had been infused with the moon. All she could sense for 1,000 years was just the unmoving surface, the million tons of rocks, and her own thoughts. How did she manage to survive? She should have been a gibbering mess as soon as she returned. What was she doing during that millennium? Did she try to busy her mind with past memories of her life? Was she trying to find a way to break out without her magic? Did she make plans for her return? Did she keep screaming with no pony to hear her for 1,000 years? How did her mind stay whole? The amount of mental fortitude Luna must have had to endure this. It wasn't entirely enough, was it? The way she screamed a few hours ago, Twilight now knew what Luna had been dreaming of. Raiden hadn't been surprised at all. He knew exactly what to do. He rushed in to wake her up. It had almost been an hour since the crying stopped. Neither of them had come out yet. Twilight didn't dare enter the room before, stout and staying outside, because the way Reagan forbid them to. Now? She was afraid to have her suspicions confirmed beyond any doubt. How often did that happen? Once a month? Once a week? Every night? Was this the real reason why Raiden didn't move from her door? Not even a single step down the corridor? Was he waiting for this to happen, for the moment where he had to run to Luna's aid to comfort her? Raiden's propensity to spend all his time by Luna's side, practically glued to her, now made sense. He was doing everything he could, fighting to keep her sane in a new world where every pony hated her and ponies wanted her dead. Raiden liked very few ponies. He loved even less. Before the last day's events, she would have been limited to list herself, Spike, and Celestia. She wasn't entirely sure if Princess Celestia was still on that list, but she believed that she was. Raiden, for some reason, a reason she was beginning to suspect, she knew that it was angry. Extremely angry with her. If he still didn't care for her, he wouldn't limit his displeasure to the occasional shouting, snark, and foul language when talking to her, princess or not. But his list now included Luna. There was no doubt. Raiden somehow had to come to care deeply for Luna, who, if they were correct, was rightfully terrified of the elements of harmony. It didn't matter if they would never use them on her again. Just the fact that they were still out in the world would be enough to drive her mad with fear. Rigdon knew this. So now, Rigdon believed that the elements of harmony were a mental danger for Luna, and a physical danger for Twilight. If Twilight's darkest thoughts were true, if that was what Luna had gone through, oh, heavens help them. If it was true, Rigdon would sooner burn the world than allow this to continue. If it was something threatening or scaring somebody Rigdon loved. I'm not a scientist. I am no doctor. That's what he said last night. That's what he always said. It really left a lot of options about what he used to be, didn't it? Even if he wasn't something like what she feared, Twilight believed it made no difference. Whatever Rigdon had gone through in his past, it must have taught him some tricks or given him some ideas. Ideas that could be backed up with the magic strength of a desperate alicorn. Twilight still remembered his claim that if you knew enough, you can cast a spell that would cut through metal as if it was mist. That was an offhand comment. If Rigdon really wanted to with Luna's help, he could perform the stuff of nightmares. There was a reason he was extremely careful of what he shared, even if he knew so little as he claimed. The small hints of what he could unleash with some help had panicked even Princess Celestia. She did not fear him just because he broke a lot of bones. Rainbow spoke in a hush.
I'm overthinking this, right? Right? It can't be as bad as I think. Rainbow, dear, I don't think we can ever come close to imagining how horrible it truly was if that really happened.
Rarity's voice trembled. Fluttershy was on the verge of tears.
I just thought that she was afraid to be away again. That's horrible. Oh, darn. That's why your pa... Twilight, Rigdon really meant what he said, didn't he? We need to tell Princess Celestia what happened to her sister.
Applejack urged.
Those two are really going to.
Rarity stopped her with a hoof to her mouth.
We are not telling Princess Celestia. Rigdon for once has the right idea. Pardon? Are you crazy? She needs to know,
Applejack said. Rarity swiped at her eyes with a handkerchief.
No, what? Are you going to tell her that she thought it was an act of mercy, one that she already feels guilt for, locked her sister in 1,000 years of agony? How do you think Princess Celestia will feel? We know if she can even help Luna anymore than Rigdon does already. He obviously knows what happened. Well, when you put it down like that...
Rainbow added her own 2 bits.
Princess Celestia was the one who did this to her. I don't think Luna would like to talk about that with her anyway. It would be pretty awkward after all. But...
Fluttershy said.
She seems fine, doesn't he? She's staying apart for most of the time, but she joins in and laughs sometimes. I doubt she thinks about it all the time,
Rarity answered.
Rigdon probably keeps her busy to stop her from dwelling on it, but it has to be always there, in the back of her mind. And when she forgets herself or goes to sleep... That's it,
Twilight announced, breaking the girls from their own visions of Luna's suffering.
We are going to Luna's tower now. Fluttershy, stay here with Pinkie. Shining Armor should be coming by soon. If Rigdon and Luna come out and we are not back yet, stall them. Do not let them leave before you're back. We don't want to get caught. Rainbow, Applejack, Rarity, let's go.
Twilight scanned the page. Rigdon wasn't joking. The writing was obviously shifting from one language to another. Not only that, but they were also using different alphabets. Rigdon was radically changing his hoof writing in random sentences, or he was just plain bucking with whoever who would try to translate this, and just wrote it all in gibberish. This seemed impossible. She couldn't discern a single word that she could use as a starting point. It would take her days to just separate every letter to their possible corresponding alphabet and language. They'd been in the study where they first found Rigdon for an hour now. Well, Twilight and Rarity were. Applejack and Rainbow quickly left to search elsewhere when they saw Twilight gleefully taking a page down from the wall and taking a seat. Rarity was spending her time in front of an extremely large mirror, primming herself. The door opened and her missing friends came back inside to break her concentration.
Nothing,
Applejack said.
Everything's normal. There was nothing hidden anywhere. Granted, we couldn't just dig up everywhere, or they might notice later.
But I really think we aren't going to find anything else here. Did you find a second bedroom? Rarity asked in a sing-song voice while brushing her mane. Nope. Rarity gave Twilight a meaningful look.
That means nothing. He could very well be sleeping on a chair, the floor, or he might be taking turns resting. Stop doing that to me, please.
Twilight begged.
Oh, Twilight, she is a mare all alone, suffering, and has a stallion all day long next to her that understands her and shares her hurdles willingly. It's only natural that they give in under all sort of that stress and seek comfort. No! This is not one of your romance novels. Raiden doesn't think of Luna like that, and there is no way in Tartarus this ever happened. Now, let me read. Found anything, Twilight? What do all those papers say?
Rainbow was in the room with books and notes for all 10 seconds, and she was already sounded bored. Twilight rubbed her eyes. She had been trying to glare the words into meaning by the end. It didn't work out very well for her.
Nothing. They could have a detailed list of everything we were trying to find out, and I couldn't read it. I don't even know where to begin.
Applejack was strung alongside the walls, examining the papers tacked on them. Her frown was deepening as she went along.
Applejack, anything wrong?
Twilight asked. Applejack moved onto the midpoint of the wall and was looking right and left at the notes. You could say that, I reckon. There are only 8 or 10 pages of notes here. Rainbow waved her hoof at the walls that were filled with over 100 pages.
You should recount, AJ. I think you might have missed a couple.
Nope, I didn't, Applejack said, her frown replaced by a self-satisfied smirk. There are only 10 or so at best. They just repeat over and over. Twilight didn't cast a teleport, but to the naked eye, it would make no difference. 1 second she sat in the chair, the next she was right next to Applejack. She scrutinized every page, looking for confirmation. The page she had been studying was here, and there. Applejack was right.
How the hey did you notice that?
She asked with wonder. The pages were so indecipherable and similar to each other that even now she could barely notice the repeat. This was expertly done. He had even added some sketches in random points to confuse the eye even more. Patterns, Applejack said. I'll explain some other time. Let's just say that I have to check a few hundred identical trees for signs of trouble every day. Tends to leave you with a talent for seeing this kind of stuff. Rainbow called out to Rarity.
Hey, Miss Glamour, careful over there, okay? If you wear that mirror out, Raiden will kick your flank. Oh, please, Rainbow. I'm not going to repeat dear Pinky's mistake. I'm just making sure my coiffure is in place. Yeah, but he... He really cared for that mirror, didn't he?
Twilight watches Rainbow as the one now that scowled suspiciously now. What was wrong with Twilight today? Did she wake up on the stupid side of the bed? Everyone seemed to be noticing things she did not. Rainbow flew to the gigantic mirror inspecting the frame.
Rainbow, what are you looking for?
Twilight asked.
A lever or a button. What for?
Asked Rarity beneath Rainbow.
Every evil lair has at least one secret door. I bet this is it.
Rainbow's explanation dumped Twilight's spirits. She had been hoping that Rainbow had noticed something of use, not go off on one of her fantasies where the world was covered with trapdoors, evil lairs, and hidden treasures. Any moment now she would claim the entrance to Luna's royal rooms was in the middle of the hedge maze in the garden, and she would demand that they march down there to see.
Found it!
Rainbow said triumphantly, and with a click of the mirror frame swiveled silently on hidden hinges. Son of a bitch. There we go. A short one today, and only because the rest of the chapter has no real cutoff. So the next chapter of TLG will be much longer than this. I apologize, but I don't really want to cut it off on a mid-explanation during the next section. And this is just too good of a stop point. What else aren't stopping their innumerable amount of kindness are my wonderful donators. Thank you, Chase the Master, HKH4 aka Texture, The Animated Ghost, Solus, Mark the Wolf, Stu Hex, Captain Blue Shadow, and of course a large thank you to Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much and it means a ton to me. This has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.